First story. The saga of the golden child brother who cheated with his other brother's girlfriend, causing him to commit self-harm. Still, entitled parents supported them, so OP went to NC. Now, 20 years later, niece contacted OP, and she said she is dead brother's child, and golden brother resenting her from birth. One of my employees mentioned that this may be a good place to get some advice from my current dilemma. I 46 am one of 4 kids. My older brother P 48 am I think, with whom I no longer have any contact, my younger brother J, who is no longer with us, and my youngest sister K 44F. Recently, P's children, 2 girls and 1 boy, all in their late teens and early 20s, reached out to me and expressed a desire to have a relationship. I have 0 contact with their father and swore that I would beat him black and blue if I ever saw him again. A little background. My oldest brother P was always the golden child. No matter what he did, my parents always had an excuse for why it was not his fault. Bad grades. The teacher had it out for him. Cheating on every single one of his relationships. Good thing you did it to her before she did it to you. That one was my personal favorite. He also used to torment Jay and I constantly when we were smaller than him, until in high school when I hit a growth spurt and sprung up to about 6'4" and 230 pounds worth of muscle. After that, I became the typical jock type. I played football, partied with a bunch of friends, etc. Well, my younger brother Jay didn't get as lucky and stayed pretty small and scrawny throughout high school and college, only getting up to about 5'8", and didn't have a super active social life. Despite the difference in our schooling experience, I was always very protective of Jay, especially since we were always having to put up with P's bullshit, which stopped once he realized I could pound him into the ground and not break a sweat, as he was also a lot smaller than me at only 5'10". There is not much to say about K. She was a great younger sister, and P didn't dare mess with her, or he would incur the wrath of our mother. So, in the late 90s, Jay met his first real girlfriend, A, and was over the moon about her. He spent every spare moment with her, and when he wasn't with her, he would do nothing but gush about her. I had never seen him so happy. Well, one day, he comes to us, all smiles, and announces that A is pregnant, and they are expecting. The mood quickly turned, however, when a week later it came out that A had been cheating on J for the duration of their relationship with our older brother P. This broke my brother, and of course P, being the golden SHT that he is, didn't even get a disappointed glance from our parents. To this day, I have never seen someone look so broken as J did the last time I saw him. I believe his heartache was only compounded by the fact that my parents basically told him to get over it and be happy for our brother. Well, about a week after this revelation came to light, J took his own life. I had never been so sad and angry at the same time in my entire life. Sad that I would never see my brother again, and the pure rage of knowing that this was my brother and parents' fault. During the funeral, P walked in with A, and I saw red. Thankfully, I had other family members there to stop me from doing anything stupid. But I told P that if I ever saw him again, I would kill him. Shortly after that, I cut contact with 90% of my family, with the exception of K and a cousin I had always been close with, because everyone except them wanted to make excuses for my parents and P. Fast forward to the present. I never had any kids, and truth be told, I never wanted any. I much prefer the role of the fun uncle. K met a great guy and had 2 daughters, whom I absolutely adore. P had 2 more kids with a before cheating on her, shocker, and splitting, and I've never met any of them. My parents have tried to make contact a handful of times, but I always told them to kick rocks. So last week, I was chatting with K's daughters 19 and 17, and they mentioned that their cousins had wanted to meet me for a long time, and were hoping I would be willing to meet them as well. I don't believe they know everything that transpired between their dad and me, but I would be lying if I said I never had any desire to meet them. So everyone, I'm hoping to crowdsource any ideas or suggestions on how I begin or maintain a relationship with P's kids, while also keeping him and out of my life. Any suggestions are welcome. TLDR. 20 plus years ago, my older brother caused my younger brother's self-harm. Now his kids want to meet me and have a relationship. But I don't know how to have a relationship without my brother getting involved. Edit. One commenter just brought up a good point that kind of changed my question. The reason I wanted to meet with them soon is because they are all back in town at once from college due to COVID. But someone gave me the idea that maybe meeting them one at a time once they return to their college campuses or old living arrangements is the better option. Thoughts? Edit 2. I've had multiple people ask me why K still talks with the people I cut contact with. So I'll just copy and paste one of my replies here. Even though my sister was just as crushed about Jay's death as I was, she was angry for a long time. She and her then boyfriend, future husband, hit a financial rough patch after graduating college and were forced to move in with our parents. Due to unrelated drama at the time, they couldn't stay with me. So my sister stayed with them for several years, and over that time their relationship improved. And even though I wasn't thrilled at the time, I understood. She still doesn't really have a relationship with P, but she is cordial if they meet. I don't blame her, because our parents did a lot for her, and daughters love their cousins, so I didn't want to put her in that kind of position of choice. Update 3 weeks later. Hello everyone. I'll start off by thanking the community for all their comments and replies. It gave me a lot to think about and helped me formulate a plan for how I was going to approach this. I had several people tell me I should not meet up and just let sleeping dogs lie. But the what if of it all would eat me alive if I didn't see them. Second, I wanted to answer a few questions or concerns that people brought up in my previous post. One of them was why I used letters to represent the people in my story, and not just make up fake names. I mostly did this because I didn't want to confuse myself with fake names, and then accidentally used the wrong name to represent someone's role or actions. I apologize if this makes it difficult to read. Another concern I saw a lot was that they were trying to get back in contact for my money, which was also a concern of mine, but I don't spoil my sister's children at all. I'm currently helping her oldest with financial aid, and will be assisting the youngest as well, but no money is coming out of my pocket. I'm simply teaching them responsible money management, along with putting them in contact with financial advisors, and they are extremely grateful, so I hope they will not expect some kind of college loan that they're not going to get. Finally, I had several people ask if I ever went to therapy for this. I did go see a therapist pretty regularly for about 6 years after I made the initial break from my family, and it did help significantly. She did counsel for reconciliation for a very long time, but I told her that it was not up for discussion. She also helped me see who else in my life had big problems and helped me make a semi-clean break from them as well. One of the not-so-clean breaks was the reason I was unable to take Kay in after she hit financial troubles and had to move back in with our parents. So, on to the update. I decided to hold off on meeting them as a group, especially since they were still living with their dad at the time, and just do one-on-one meetings. I also didn't want to be bombarded with questions or propositions for money if their intentions weren't good. So, the first one to go back to her college town, which was shortly after my first post, was the oldest of P's kids, whom I'll call C21F. She went back to find a place to stay and get a part-time job in her college town so that she was ready for classes to start in the fall. I got her personal email from Kay's kids because I don't really have social media and decided to reach out to her. She was pretty excited to hear from me, and I flew to her city, and we set up a time to meet on one of her days off. I got to the restaurant early so that I could have a few drinks and calm my nerves. I decided to reserve the most private table they had so that we could say anything we wanted without people listening in and/or staring. Well, the moment she walked through the door, I immediately knew who she was. She was the spitting of my mother, her grandmother, when she was that age. She even had the green eyes that Jay and I inherited from our mother. P was always jealous. He never inherited them because we were always getting compliments from strangers when we were little about our eyes, and you could tell it would burn P a new RC hole because people weren't paying attention to him. So I kept it together, and we said our greetings. After the typical small talk about school, life, and work, we place our orders. Then she finally says, "I guess you're wondering why I wanted to meet you." She proceeds to tell me that last year, she decided to buy an Ancestry DNA kit for her and her sister as something fun to do during lockdown. And as many of you guessed, the kit came back as them being half-sisters. C is Jay's daughter. She goes on to tell me that growing up, P had always treated his other kids better than her. And with the DNA results, it all finally made sense why, and the reason they don't have the best relationship. Clearly P is still just as big a piece of SHT as he always was. It's nice to know some things never change. I'm sure he harbored some kind of resentment at the chance of her being Jay's daughter. After going to her mom with the results, A surprisingly admitted everything that happened. I guess after A found out that her daughter was Jay's child, the situation and his self-harm hit her like a ton of bricks, and she has harbored a great deal of guilt regarding it ever since. A went on to tell her all about the circumstances of her conception, Jay's self-harm, my estrangement, the reason for their rocky relationship, etc. According to her, P wanted to give her up for adoption after she was born, but my parents, who I guess finally grew a spine, told him no, and that they would financially cut him off if he did. So once lockdown restrictions finally started to lift in California, she thought reaching out to me would be the best way to get to know what her biological father was like. Apparently, it was only her that really had the urge to meet me, as I was closest to Jay during his life. And that was when she let Kay's daughters know that she wanted to meet me and asked them to contact me on her behalf. She knew we were close, and that would be the best way to get in touch. After this, I couldn't hold back anymore, and the water began flowing. I couldn't help but apologize to C for all the things she had to go through with P. If I had known, I would have adopted C in a heartbeat. We spent the rest of the meal just talking about Jay. I remembered old stories about him that I thought I had forgotten. She is a great girl and smart as a whip, telling me how she intends to pursue her master's in computer science. She has scholarships and grants to cover all her schooling, which put my mind at ease that I probably wasn't being taken for the long con. We ended the night by exchanging contact information and giving each other a big hug. It feels like I have a little piece of Jay back, knowing that it was only C who really wished to meet. I asked her if she would reach out to her siblings on my behalf and see if they wanted to meet as well. Other than that, I am extremely happy with how this meeting turned out and feel like I have a lot of catching up to do with C in the future. Thankfully, she completely understood and respected my desire to still stay in contact with P and her mother. I'm sure I will do an update on each of my meetings with the other kids as well. TLDR. I met with the eldest niece. It turns out she is Jay's daughter. I had a fantastic night remembering him and connecting with his daughter. Updates 6 months later. At the beginning of January, I got a flood of people asking how things have been going with me and my niece since last year, and if I met up with any of the other kids. So I thought I would update everyone on what's happened. As I requested, C reached out to her other siblings on my behalf and asked if they would like to meet up with me and possibly get to know me. Only her sister, whom I'll call S, accepted my offer to meet. Her brother, on the other hand, thought this was some kind of betrayal of their family and refused. So after S went back to college, which was luckily only about a 5-hour drive from C's college, I set up a time with C to take some time off work to come with me and introduce me to her sister. So about 2 weeks later, I flew into C's city and drove up to meet S in her college town. The meeting was nice. She is a very sweet and soft-spoken girl, and you can tell she has a good heart and deeply loves her sister, even after finding out that they don't have the same dad. So I spent the weekend up there getting to know her with C, and it was very enjoyable. We even invited her and C to my sister's Thanksgiving get-together, which we always do the weekend before Thanksgiving. It was great, and I have been making regular trips to visit them both and really build a relationship. I still have a lot of lost time to make up for. During my first meeting with C, she mentioned that only her sister and mother were aware of the revelation of her paternity and asked me not to share the information with anyone until she was ready. So I kept my mouth shut about that little detail when Kay was bombarding me with questions about how our meeting went and what we talked about. Well, unbeknownst to me, I'm guessing one of my family members who I don't have contact with anymore must have found my post and update, recognized some of the details or my username or both, and proceeded to flap their gums to the entire family. This pretty much torpedoed C's opportunity to come up with a plan to break the news gently or at all. Unfortunately, the news did not go over well. All the details I have are from what I've been told by C and K, but I will try to remember them all correctly. From what I learned from C, her dad ended up disowning her. From what she told me, it turns out he had known since her birth that she wasn't his, which is what probably led to the neglect. And it sounded like he was more upset that everyone now knows, and that she met me than anything else. C mentioned to me later that she figured that's where their relationship was headed anyway, so she wasn't too broken up. Unfortunately, her brother has also taken her dad's side and hasn't spoken to her or her sister since. I think that one hurt more than she let on. Apparently, the rest of my family, outside of my parents' and sister's family, have taken a similar stance. But most of them are a bunch of leeches anyway who are always looking for a handout, which is why I don't associate with them anymore. I guess a bunch of them were badgering Kay to give up my contact information because they thought I owed some kind of compensation for the drama I caused. But my sister doesn't take SHT from anyone and basically told them to go to hell. I'm sure they would have asked me for financial compensation for the drama. That's the kind of person they are. Thankfully, none of this drama has affected C or S's schooling. C has her scholarships and grants, and S has college savings from her grandparents on her mom's side. Unfortunately for me, after C found out that my post was the reason for all the drama she had to go through, I got the arse chewing of a lifetime. She didn't talk to me for a couple of weeks after that, and I was terrified that I had blown up my relationship with her. But thankfully Kay's daughters had a chance to speak with her about why I posted it, and gave her the chance to read it. Lucky for me, she picked up the next time I called, and she accepted my apology. All of that drama happened in September. Fast forward to our Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, C and S were not able to attend my sister's dinner with me. They opted to spend it with their mother, as I guess she had just been dumped by her dirtbag boyfriend, not husband, as I incorrectly stated in a previous post, and wanted the girls there for her family's Thanksgiving. But we decided to all meet up for Christmas. I guess her mom wanted to use the opportunity to mend her relationship with her kids a little. For Christmas, I helped fly everyone K and her family, and C and S out to Lake Tahoe, where my buddy was letting me use his place that he has up there, and we all had a great time. I got to see what C was like when she had a little too much wine, and it was quite an experience. It is definitely a memory I will cherish. S is also quite the blossoming cook, and made a few delicious dips and appetizers for us to snack on leading up to Thanksgiving dinner. I also got the chance to teach the girls how to ski and snowboard, which is always something I enjoy during the winter months. S took to it like a natural. The rest of them, not so much. They got their revenge on me later, during a surprise snowball fight. During the trip, C and S brought up the idea of me getting back in contact and possibly reconciling with my parents, as I guess they are having a hard time after they decided to remain neutral during the drama my post caused. And now they don't really have much family that interacts with them anymore aside from K, and the girls feel bad for their grandparents. I let them know I would think about it, but I did not hold their breath. Around mid-January, C brought her new boyfriend to K's youngest daughter's 18th birthday party, and he didn't really give the best first impression, in my opinion, and just his whole demeanor really rubbed me the wrong way. However, I don't really feel it's my place to comment on her love life, so I've pretty much kept my mouth shut, reluctantly. So as of right now, all 4 of my nieces are currently in college full-time, or will be starting soon, and they are great girls who I couldn't love more if I tried. My one nephew apparently has zero interest in meeting with me, so that is kind of a bummer. But overall, things have worked better than I could have imagined since last year. Finally, one question I have for the community is if, at my niece's request, I should finally break my no contact with my parents. I'm really leaning towards no, but the please look they gave me at Christmas is the only thing making me consider it. If you think I should, why? I'm really having a hard time finding a reason to do it. TLDR. Just a quick update on how things have been going since last year. I met up with my other niece. She is a sweet girl, but they want me to contact my parents for the first time in 8 years, and I'm conflicted. Second story. OP's family bullied and belittled her to the extent of self-harm. Her last straw was when they laughed at her dream achievement as a silly thing. She lashed out on the entire family, humiliating them in front of everyone, and cut ties with them. By 25, I'm part of a large STEM family. My entire family is highly educated. My parents, 5 siblings, etc. They're all doctors, scientists, and mathematicians. I am the only one who isn't. Growing up, I was always the black sheep. School just didn't come easy to me. They even had me tested for learning disabilities at one point. I had nothing, but I just wasn't good at school. I spent my entire childhood crying over math textbooks, wondering why I didn't get them. Why is it so easy for them and not for me? Art came easy, and literature came easy. But to my family, that was trash and not worth focusing on. It didn't help that they kept sending me to the same academic schools my siblings went to. Those schools were brutal, the competition there was fierce, and kids were literally snorting Adderall to get through exam week. That environment didn't help. Things didn't improve until I moved out at 18 and got a job at a tattoo parlor. I was able to get an art degree. I started writing, I went to therapy, and I got a boyfriend. My life just got better because, for the first time, I could just be me. My family couldn't accept this, and contact with them became less and less. Every time I meet them, they never make an effort to talk to me about the things I like. They just talk among themselves about STEM subjects I don't understand. I try to engage with them, but the things they discuss, I just don't know. Whenever I ask questions, they get annoyed because now they have to dumb things down for the family idiot. The only time they talk to me is to discuss my failures in life. Mostly, I just sit there quietly. That's how my whole life has been with them. Recently, I got a publishing deal for my fantasy novel. I was super excited to tell my family at their New Year's party. The first thing they did was ask what kind of novel it was. When I said fantasy, they awkwardly laughed and changed the topic to my cousin's PhD thesis. This was my biggest achievement, and they shat on it. I told them they were being rude, and that they'd treated me like crap my whole life. They snapped back to stop making a scene, saying that I had been a difficult child and to be understanding. I really lost it then. I screamed that I was never a difficult child. I never drank, sneaked out, stole, did drugs, or got into a fight. I just wasn't into science, which isn't a big deal at all. So what if I wasn't good at school? Any other family would have been glad to have. I left after that. Since then, they've been trying to contact me. To be fair, they do seem very apologetic, but I've been ignoring them. My dad's last text said I'm being childish, and I need to talk to them. A part of me feels bad because I ruined New Year's, and a lot of my family's colleagues were there too, and they witnessed it, which was probably humiliating for them. They work in really prestigious, competitive fields, and I humiliated them. Ada, edit. Thanks a lot for the support. I fell asleep after posting this, so I didn't get to reply to everyone. I talked to my dad and asked him to meet me. He said we could meet later today or tomorrow. I'll update you after that. Update in comments. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for the replies. I posted this before going to bed, so I wasn't able to reply. When I woke up this morning after reading through everything, I decided to text my dad and ask him if we could meet. To my surprise, he said yes, that we could meet today even. I was more surprised when I showed up to all 6 of my siblings there. I asked them how they all managed to get time off at the last minute, as they all have busy jobs. My sister said not to worry about it. They shuffled some things around. Everybody looked pretty upset. I hate awkward silence, so I started off. I said sorry for exploding during the party. It wasn't the place or the time to air out dirty laundry. I know I embarrassed everyone and ruined New Year's Eve, but I wasn't sorry about the things I said. Just where and when I said them. My brother asked why I exploded like that, and how long I felt that way. I told them I had had enough. I started writing my book at 19, and after years of rejection, I got a publisher. Did he have any idea how big a deal that was? Did he think everybody got published? And they just laughed at me and moved on. I felt like an embarrassment. They said sorry, and that they didn't mean it. I didn't know what to say, so there was a more awkward silence after that. I just drank my Coke till Dad spoke. He said that he didn't mean to make me feel bad, just that he didn't read fantasy books. I snapped and said, so what? I don't like string theory, but I still ask him about it. I don't like the Eilenberg-Gagne conjecture, but I still listen when he talks about it. I ask questions, and I care. What would it cost him to ask about my novel? I'm so sick and tired of being treated like a village idiot all the time. Mom said they don't treat me like that. I told her they do. They've treated me like a problem child my whole life. She said it wasn't easy raising me. I started yelling at this point. I'm not proud of it. I'm not usually a person who yells, but I just couldn't take it. I asked her what I did that was so bad. Did I drink? Do drugs? Steal? Cheat? Sneak out? Lie? Fight? Or even fail a test? What did I do that was so bad other than being a below-average student? Everyone got quiet after that. I could see that my mom knew she was exposed, and that there was nothing she could say to defend herself. Then my sister stepped in. She said it wasn't easy with my mental health issues. She's referring to the fact that I self-harmed pretty regularly from 6th grade to 12th. I told her she had the effing nerve. Remember how in my post I mentioned kids snorting Adderall during exam week? She was one of them. They're the reason I self-harmed, because they made me feel like SHT just because I wasn't good at math. Either way, I wasn't a problem child because I self-harmed. I was a child who needed help and love, neither of which they gave me. And if we wanted to talk about problem kids, then we should talk about her drug addiction, because I wasn't the kid that had to go to rehab. She started crying, and I didn't even care. Dad told me to calm down, but I didn't want to. I told him I was done. From this day on, they were dead to me and to them. They said I couldn't do that. They were family. I said I already had a family, one that loved me for who I am. Dad said that we could try family therapy and that we could work on things. I asked him why. What did I gain from this? He's nothing more than a sperm donor and the reason for my trauma. Even if we go to therapy, it won't make what happened to me go away. I already had a loving and caring family. I didn't need them. Dad started crying at this point. I told them all not to contact me anymore. Not for funerals and not for weddings. My eldest brother asked if I might change my mind one day. I told him probably not. I already have a complete life filled with people who love me. With that, I got up. Dad asked for a hug, so I gave him one. Then everybody else wanted a hug too, so I did. And I left. I'm done. I know I should feel bad, but I don't. I just don't see anything for me to gain. Every time I'm with them, I remember being that kid, looking around the table, seeing everybody talking, and feeling like an outsider because I don't know enough to join in. I remember all the nights of them trying to tutor me and ending up screaming at me. Why don't you get it? I remember the disappointment of every report card, and then I think about my real family, and the love they give me. I don't need them. I needed them before, but not now. Thank you to everyone who wants to read my book. I've thought long and hard, and I've decided not to post my real name here. My books are something I built out of the ashes of my childhood. I don't want it attached to them in any way. I know logically that it might not make sense, but that's how I feel. This book is my future, and I don't want it attached to my past. I've also seen some comments questioning my post. Because my family is in STEM, it means they must be the D&D LOTR kind of nerds. Well, not all STEM folks are like that. The closest I could describe them would be elitist or snobby kinds of nerds. They view fantasy as a lesser form of art. For them, the classics are much more distinguished. And poetry. That's the closest way I can describe them. Think of Leonard's mom from The Big Bang Theory. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.